Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is my Monday Reads Part 2. I decided to do this in two parts because it's 17 books. Now, I know I have done a Monday Reads with 19 before, maybe 3 weeks ago, but since I am also binge reading the James Patterson, Michael Bennett series, I did those separate. So we're going to talk about the, I lost my album. We got to find it again. Monday Reads. There we go. So we're going to talk about the other 10 books I read since last week. So if you look at part 1, you'll see the first 7. I mean, you'll see 7. They're not in the right order, but in any case, let's talk about these 10. Grace Under Fire by Julie Garwood. Now, I do need to check. I don't believe that it's part of a series. I think it's a standalone. And it's a thriller. And in this book, we have a former Navy SEAL who is let's just say he's a bodyguard to an uncooperative witness or person. And what happens is Grace Isabel McKenna was going to an anniversary party. She was going to be in Boston just for a hot minute. But one of those evenings, and I'm still trying to bring it up on my other device, one of those evenings she decides to take a walk, the night before the party or whatever. And when she takes a walk, as she's walking, a man falls into her arms. And before she can even have a chance to think, boom, she ends up saving his life and her own life. I can't bring it up on there. I just have to use my memory. She decides to save his life because she spots a gun, grabs the gun, and shoots the assailant. Yes, the man that fell into her arms that had been shot was still being chased by an assailant. I lost track because I was trying to bring it up on my device. She takes that gun, expertly shoots the assailant between the eyes, and saves the guy's life. The guy's life who she saved was a cop, okay? Now, Michael Buchanan is the Navy SEAL who's a lawyer, possibly wanting to join the FBI, and now he is dispatched to protect her because for her saving that cop's life, now she's in the killer's crosshairs. This was a really, really good book. I gave it 5 stars. I really like this book because you had the romantic elements because, of course, Isabel and Michael were attracted to each other, so the chemistry was there, the sparks were flying. But you have that mystery, and you have the fact that there's a Buchanan family, Michael's family, and how strong they were, and that strong family, just made this book even that much better. And of course, with that, you have excellent pacing due to the action and the danger that was facing Isabel throughout the whole thing. So that was Julie Garwood's Grace Under Fire. I loved it, gave it 5 stars, and I'm glad that I did. Now, I am not able to get this to cooperate, so I am not giving these books to you necessarily in the order in which I read them. I'm just going to give them to you in the order how I remember them. The next one I read was The Accidental Pinup, and that was by Danielle Jackson. Now, in The Accidental Pinup, our primary character, Cassie Harris, I believe her name was, she is a wonderful photographer, and she and her business partner Dana own a business called Buxom Boudoir. And Cassie is always looking for the next best photo shoot because she's getting her name out there, her business out there, her brand out there. So when she goes to apply for this campaign and to get the job, not only as the chief photographer, but also as the director, she finds herself up against someone that his name is Reed Montgomery. And as she's up against Reed, only one of them will get the contract. Now, here's the catch. Cassie is a photographer, big, beautiful, buxom black woman who has all the curves, but she has all the intelligence, all the strength, all the wonderful qualities. But the last thing that she is a model. But her business partner, Dana, who's usually the one in the skimpy lingerie or the bikinis, is now pregnant with a complicated pregnancy on bed rest. So she thrusts Cassie into the role of model. Well, what will happen with the contract and the directorship of this particular contract? And that's where she runs into conflict with Reed. Really, really good book. The Accidental Pinup. I think I gave that one 4 stars. I like that one. I am looking down at my my iPad, and I'm flipping through screens to see what I can bring up because I am going crazy here. Then, because this is video maybe 15 of the day. So anyway, then I read The Gunslinger's Guide to Matrimony, and this was by McLean. Now, I love this book. It was the second book in the Gunslinger series. I have not read the first book, and it does work perfectly well as a standalone. But what was funny about this book is our character, and no, I don't know his name. I should know it. But anyway, he comes into town. He's a gunslinger, and he's trying to get away from someone that has put a price on his head. So he ends up in this town, and when he ends up in this town, he runs dead smack into a mass wedding that's taking place. And as he's running into this mass wedding, before long, guess what? He's now married. Well, he's not having that. Yes, I am bringing it up on Goodreads. Okay, I restarted the video because I wanted to tell you the characters' names. His name was Adam. Her name was Nora. Adam and Nora's story, I'll give it to you really quick. He was a gunslinger running, and he got to the town of desolation, and he should have been safe, okay? But no, he ends up married. Now, Nora, her father, was a gambler and a drunk, and she's about to lose their home. Everything that they've ever worked for is about to go. Now, there's a caveat. If Nora can either marry or make it to the age of 30 before anything happens to that ranch or that home, this is cowboy days, then if she can make it to the age of 30 or get married, she can hold on to that deed, and her father can't take it away from her. So that's the reason that she participated in this wedding. Really, really cute book, funny. And as I said in my video review for this book, my longer review, it reminded me of the James Garner movie, Support Your Local Gunfighter and Support Your Local Sheriff. Great, great movies. And this book was it was right up there with something that was really great. Then I read The Scoundrels Daughter, and that was by Gracie, and it was the first book that I ever read by her. And this is not a video review. Pardon me, please forgive me. But I did do a video review for the next one I'm going to tell you about. But in this particular book, it's The Brides of Bel Air Gardens #1. And here we have a Lady Charlton. Her name is Alice, and she has been forced to take on a role as matchmaker to a young woman named Lucy. Well, how could somebody be forced to take on a role as matchmaker? Well, Alice had been married for 18 years, had a terrible, terrible, very unhappy marriage, right? Now, she's a widow now. And the thing is, there's something that someone is holding over her and using blackmail to get his daughter married off to a noble. So as Alice takes on this job with someone named Lucy, then we see her trying to find Lucy a man. And the person that she has in mind, or someone that's going to help her, his name is Gerald. Gerald or Gerard? I'm not sure if it's Gerard or Gerald. It's Gerald. He says, regarding the blackmail scheme, he says, I know someone that can help, and his name is James. He used to be my commanding officer. Well, this guy, James, that's where the love story takes place. It ends up being between James and Alice. Okay? Now, you've got young Lucy and you have Gerald. But I love how the story dealt with the fact that Alice had a very unhappy marriage. James is the father of 3 little girls, one whom he never met because he was in the war, and then his wife died. And then now James is very drawn to Alice, and she kind of likes him, but due to her unhappy marriage, So I like the way that worked out. I loved it, loved it, loved it. I think I gave this one 5 stars. I did. I gave it 5 stars. Really, really, really good book. Really nice way to meet a new author that I hadn't read before. Then the reason I read that book is because I had the Rake's Daughter for review for an upcoming blog tour. And since I have the Rake's Daughter for a blog tour, and it's the second book in this Brides of Bel Air Garden series, that's why I read The Scoundrels Daughter. The Rake's Daughter was just as good, if not better, than The Scoundrels Daughter. Now, in The Scoundrels Daughter, an earl has to play, again, a matchmaker type of scheme. Not scheme. He became an earl, and now he has the duty to find a young woman a husband. Now, the young woman is a titled woman, but the thing is, she's not alone. She's with her half-sister, who is an illegitimate, penniless person who, by all, pretty much you can say is an orphan. But the 2 sisters, I think they're Clarissa and Izzy, if I'm not mistaken. I use my memory a lot. Yeah, Clarissa and Izzy are tighter than tight. And they both embark on the London scene in the midst of the marriage mart going on, looking for a groom for Clarissa. Much to the dismay of Leo, the earl that's supposed to be getting a husband for Clarissa. Here's the catch. This is a time, Regency time, when, being, a bastard or born without a father being married to the mother, then that person has nothing. And that's what Izzy had, was nothing. Now, the thing is, Leo was very, very drawn to Izzy. So he's of the peerage. She's an illegitimate orphan. So how can that balance? How can the 2 become a couple? Loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. Then the next one I read, I don't know where it is. I don't know. I've got a cat. Oh, here we go. The next one I read was Sheryl Lister's A Table for Two. This will be out August 16th. I've already made the video, but you won't see it, until it comes out. And in this book, we have Serenity Wheeler and we have Gabriel Cunningham. And Serenity Wheeler is a nurse, but she is also her hobby is cooking. And she has a supper club where she gets together with her girlfriends and makes all this fabulous food. Well, one of them, she ends up, one of their brothers, one of them has a brother named Gabriel. Now, when Gabriel meets Serenity, it's not good. In fact, they first meet at the market and he's trying to break the ice and he accidentally insults her. Then the next time it looks like they might just be able to work things out, she overhears him talking to a friend of his on the phone, and she hears some very unkind things. Now, they still have this attraction to each other, so they have to get past these misunderstandings that take place. Now, Gabriel is only in town to see about his grandmother, and he's trying to get his grandmother to move to Atlanta with him. So his time in that something Meadows, I don't know if I'm looking at the book. Something Meadow. It's a beautiful little place. But anyway, he's only there to take care of his grandmother and to try to encourage his grandmother to move to Atlanta with him. So even if he were to be drawn to Serenity, or they do work out their problems, it would have to be long distance or nothing at all. So how do they get past that? And that's what this book is. I really, really enjoyed it. The next book I read was For Better or Worse, and this was by Erin Rosa, and this was the first book that I read by her. I don't even know how many other books she has. Whoops, I just clicked the wrong thing. Let's go. In this particular book, you have a couple who were co-hosts on a popular television cooking show. And they each had a reputation. She was a Gordon Ramsay type reputation, and he was a jokester type reputation. Well, part of his persona, he insulted her a lot, and she had enough. She quit the show right in the peak of the show's success. And now her chef career is at stake, and his restaurant businesses are at stake. So there's a plot to pretend in front of the paparazzi that they are a couple. Okay? So as they're going about town getting photo opportunities and trying to keep their reputations intact as well as their businesses intact, feelings start to encroach on this fake relationship that's there for the sake of press. Very, very, very good book. I loved it. Then I read The Second First Chance, and this was by Mona Shroff. And this was my second book. The 5-Day Honeymoon was the book I read by her at the beginning of the year. In this book, we have a couple who, he's a vet, she's a newbie firefighter, like a probie, and they grew up together. They they were each other's first love, but there was a tragedy that took his father and her older brother. The tragedy was a fire. So now that they're meeting years later, he can't believe that she became a firefighter. Now, meanwhile, those old feelings that they had when they were kids, then teenagers, start to reignite. You know, there's the coincidence, the pun, start to reignite. And how will they navigate their painful past, with the deaths of their family members and the fact that she became a firefighter. Loved this second chance romance. It was a really good one. And then the last book I read, of course I closed it, but I should remember it. It's Long Past Summer, and that is by Noué Kirwan. It's a debut novel, and I do have to bring it up. I want to say what it is off the top of my head, but in this debut novel, it is a second chance novel of a second chance love of a couple that get back together after 2 decades apart. And her name is Michaela. She is an attorney. And his name is Dylan, Dhillon. They're Indian. And am I getting this? Nope. I'm sorry. The Indian couple were in the second chance. Sorry. In this particular one, it is an interracial. She's African American or a person of color, and he's Caucasian. All right, but that's neither here nor there. What happens is, she had a good friend named Julie, okay? Her and Julie had a falling out, and they didn't speak for 2 decades. In fact, Julie married this person named Cameron. Well, fast forward 20 years later, and for some reason, a magazine puts a billboard out, and on this billboard is Michaela and Julie. Well, Julie sues the magazine. Michaela is an attorney, so Michaela defends the magazine, and this brings her back in contact with Julie, despite the fact, with they're not friends. And Cameron, who is now Julie's ex. Well, the thing is, there was a love triangle years ago. Maybe it wasn't, they were kids. They were in, seniors in high school or the freshmen in college. But she was drawn to Cameron back then. And now he's divorced from Julie. And they are running neck and neck in this case against the magazine, where she is defending the magazine. And it's the sweetest story. It's a really, really sweet story. And what I love about this is that it's a debut novel. And this author, she brought in two characters who you knew they were meant to be together, but can they erase that 20-year separation they had and find a way to find love? And, I loved it. I think I went 4 or 5 stars. I'm going to see what I gave it. Oh, I haven't rated it yet because I haven't written anything on it. But that's what Long Past Summer was. A very, very good book. I'm going to try the author's name one more time because she's a debut author, Noué Kirwan. And just keep your eye on her name and we'll see what else she writes. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of fancy editing. After I read Long Past Summer, I read The Lost and Found Girl, and that was by Maisey Yates. Now, everything I have read by Maisey Yates up until now has pretty much been a cowboy romance. Well, this is a woman's fiction about a girl named Ruby and her 3 sisters. Now, the 3 sisters were sisters, but Ruby was found as a newborn on a bridge. And when the girls found Ruby as a little baby, they were like 4, 6, and 8. They brought her home. The mom thought she was a doll, found out it was a baby, and they adopted Ruby into their home. Now, Ruby has had a rich life. She was always kind of well known, the found baby, the foundling, and she goes off and she travels the world. Well, now she's back home and she is dealing with her sisters, and each of her sisters has very sensitive circumstances, so there's a lot of drama involving Ruby and the 3 girls. They're all very close. It's a very, very good book. For me to read, when an author steps outside of their genre, it's always very, very intriguing to me because you see a different side of that author or a different side of that author's talent. And that's what I found when I was reading Maisey Yates' The Lost and Found Girl. I loved it. I'm definitely going to give this one probably 4 stars, but it was a good book. Now, I do want to tell you where I am with this month, and that's why I said I'm going to do some fancy editing because I made a mistake and I've got to go edit that out. Since I read The Lost and Found Girl, I have finished 50 books for the month of July, and it's my intent to read 16 more books. Okay, 16 more. That's what my goal is. And so the book I'm reading right now is Things We Do in the Dark by Jennifer Hillier. And then I'll read The Library Spy by Madeline Martin. And I feel like I have, I do. I knew I had another historical fiction, The Codebreaker Secret by Sarah Ackerman. So those are the next 3 books that I am going to read. I'll at least get 2 of those read today. It's already 11:30 and I've got an appointment at the hospital, so I don't know. But anyway, let's talk about my stats. Since I have finished 50 books, we are just going to run over and get those stats. And I just have to do a little bit of editing on my spreadsheet in order to produce those stats. And I've done the editing that quickly. And now at 50 books, Nope, I didn't mark it. So I'm a little over 17,000 pages, maybe closer to 18,000 pages. And for this year, I am now 1 tick under my most read books for the year. Because my most read books for the year was 62. Then now I'm at 50 and my goal is to read 66. So we'll see what happens. I'm averaging about 700 to 800 pages per day. Whether that average will continue or get higher or lower, we'll find out. So I just wanted to throw in that at the end. But now I've got to go edit this together because I made a mistake. But I wanted to tell you about these 10 books. So hopefully I can fix this and you can enjoy this video. And believe me, I will be back with more. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.